Hello everyone, this is Prabhu here once again back with data analytics. And after the first session, I'm sure that you are all excited to go for the second one. And in this, we are going to start actually with data analytics module one. And here we are going to cover the concept of CRISP DM framework, right? So in this particular session, we are going to basically cover business and data understanding. So you will be getting an idea as to what is the first step that we are going to have in data analytics and what is it called, why it is called CRISP DM framework, right? So what we are going to cover today is business understanding, data preparation, modeling, and the evaluation of models. Okay, so these are things that we are going to cover today. So let us start with the basics. Let us start with the basics, and that is the concept of CRISP DM, right? So, analytics problem, as we all know, problem solving in data analytics involves multiple steps like collection of data, cleaning of data, preparation of data, selecting the correct models, modeling that is called as, and then model evaluation and implementation of the models. And this entire process, or what we can call as a data analytics project, can take several weeks or sometimes several months. And since it takes such a long period of time, it is necessary to have a particular process or a particular structure developed around it, right? The structure for data analytics problem solving is normally called as CRISP DM framework, that is cross industry standard process for data mining. As a data analyst, you will find a number of challenges that you have to face, ranging from understanding various business problems to selecting the best techniques to solve those problems. To avoid getting lost, data scientists have developed a robust process to solve virtually any analytics problem in any industry. I'm focusing on, you can see that I'm focusing on, stressing on the word any analytics problem. So I'm not talking about a specific problem, I'm saying any analytics problem in any industry. So whether it is a textile industry, whether it is an infrastructure industry or power industry or a pharmaceutical division, we are not concerned with the nature of the business, right? It may be a finance related company like financial institutions. Okay. So in any industry, solve virtually any problem, any analytics problem in any industry. And this process is called as cross industry standard process. Why cross industry? Because it involves any type of industry, any type of analytics problem for data mining. This problem solving framework, this problem solving framework can be divided into 6 steps. Now, what are the 6 steps that we are going to have here? Okay, let us see the 6 stages of CRISP DM: business understanding, data preparation, data modeling, model evaluation, model deployment. Right? So these are the 6 stages of CRISP DM. Now, I want to take up each one of them, each stage individually and discuss with you. So let us start doing that. We start with business understanding. Understanding what problem you are solving before even touching the data. Before about thinking about the data, you are going to first think as to what is the problem that you are going to solve. The most critical yet often overlooked step, because you directly start looking for the data, collection of data. And for what are you going to collect the data for? You should know that. For what purpose are you collecting the data? What is the business objective? Identify the analytical goals, and then we can understand the data, collect the data, understand the data, right? So it involves different steps like business understanding, data preparation, data modeling, model evaluation, and we have model deployment. These are the 6 steps which are involved. And in that, we are now discussing stage one, that is business understanding, which is made up of 2 parts. that is determining the business objectives and identifying the analytical goals. Right? So let us come to the first part, business understanding. Let us take a small example for that purpose. Like now we are having severe heat across the entire country, and you can see that people are running to hill stations like Shimla and Mathiran and all these places. But there also the temperatures are not going to make much of a difference because it is not as cool as it was before, it used to be before. You are going towards a hill station in a car, you are enjoying, your entire family is with you, and suddenly your car stops in the middle of the road. Now you have a toolkit with you, you are having good knowledge about your car, and you know how to repair cars. But to do so, you should know exactly what is the problem. Is the problem with the engine? Is the problem with the battery? Or is it simply that you have run out of fuel? You are doing all your tantrums. You are checking the car, you are checking the engine, you are opening your car. But it may so happen that after doing all these things, you find that, oh, there is no fuel in the tank. So for a data analyst also, the same thing is important. Understanding the business, the first step, and its specific problems. That is of utmost importance. You have to understand the business problem clearly to convert it into a well-defined analytics problem. So first find out what is the business problem so that you can define what is going to be your analytics problem that you are going to solve. Only then you can lay out a brilliant strategy to solve it. Otherwise, you will end up solving super efficiently a problem that was never there, a wrong problem. So, after figuring out what is wrong with your car, you can ideally experiment with various tools and follow what is a somewhat sequential procedure as we normally do. Similarly, the data analytics projects have a typical life cycle with the 6 stages that I mentioned to you just now of the CRISP DM framework. Let us consider, for an example, an asset management company like Best Invest Funds, which is an asset management company, okay, which is currently managing funds worth $50 billion of customers. What is the primary objective of this particular AMC? The primary objective is to generate and maximize the profits through investments. Therefore, the company is trying to identify new avenues and trying to identify which particular sectors or which particular industries to invest or which particular geographical locations to invest. Let us assume that you are appointed as a data analytics and data analyst for Best Investment Funds, which is an AMC. And you have to identify and recommend sectors which are most attractive for the investors. For this purpose, we make use of all the 6 steps that we have discussed. But in that, the first one was business understanding, and business understanding is made up of 2 important steps. The first step is determine the business objectives, and the second step is identify the goals of data analytics. The first step is to identify business objectives. What is a business objective? To earn and maximize the profits. But as a data analyst, you have to know, you have to understand, maximization of profits means what? Maximization of returns means what? Whether it is to get a returns of 5%, 10%, 15%, 35%, what is the expected returns which you call maximize? This will help us to understand what we should aim for in data analytics. Right? So that is the first step. Then this will lead us to the second step. Ideally, we can compare the returns earned by different sectors, different industries, and use that particular analysis to decide which sector to invest. Alternatively, we can follow the trend. Following the trend means what? We can decide to look at the current investment pattern or the current investment landscape and invest in those sectors where most investors are already investing. And to achieve this, a number of analyses can be performed. For example, analysis as to how the funding is spread across different sectors, or analysis to identify a cluster of sectors for potential investments. Another example of understanding business objectives is to identify a high value customer. So you have to know what is the definition of a high value customer. If I have to sacrifice a particular customer, I cannot sacrifice a high value customer. So I have to first identify who is a high value customer for the business. The ones who give the highest revenue but connected to less number of people, because we are talking about AMC, investment funds, or the ones who are most connected people. Let us take an example. You have a customer who can individually bring in $4,000 as investment, but that customer is connected to only two other customers, right? And each one of them can bring $4,000. So maximum business that he can give you, the revenue that he can generate for you, is $12,000. 4,000 of himself and 4,000 of his two friends. So he can get in maximum $12,000. On the other hand, there may be a customer who can bring in not even 1,000 but only $500. Only $500. But he has got 99 other people like him, small time investors. He's connected to 99 other people, or small time investors who, like him, can invest only $500. So 500 into total 100 now. He plus 99, 100 people. 500 into 100, that makes it $50,000. So are you going to consider that one customer who can give you a maximum returns of $12,000 as a high value customer? Or are you going to consider this one small investor who can bring in only $500, but he is connected to 99 other people and he can get you a total revenue of $50,000? Okay, who can be sacrificed? Who is the high value customer for the business? That is why it is very important to define who the high value customers are. Correct? That is the first stage of your data analytics problem solving. Okay, that is business understanding. Second stage is data understanding. Collection of relevant data, description of available data, exploring the data, and verifying the data quality. Okay, so let us start with data understanding. Data understanding, raw data understanding. After understanding the business, the next thing is understanding the data. Once you get your hands on the data for the first time, now you will get different types of data. In the first session, we have studied. Data can be structured, unstructured, semi-structured. Okay, so different types of data will be there. You want to know how many files are there. You want to know how many rows are there, how many columns are there. You have to understand. You have to understand how they are related to each other, and whether something looks a little bit fishy out of the way. Where, for example, in the age column you find some negative number. Age cannot be negative, right? So you cannot have age column having negative values. So here we will go for 4 steps to understand the data. So what are the 4 steps? Collection of relevant data, description of available data, exploring the data, and verifying the data quality. So collection of relevant data means what? Only that data that is required for us, for our analysis, we will collect only relevant data. Data may be structured or unstructured. It will help us to understand the investment across all the different sectors. If the data is unstructured, then it may be in the form of news articles or Twitter feeds about acquisitions. Okay, and description of the data available. To describe the structured data, we can create a sort of a data dictionary that lists down the various types of variables. That is the sector, the industry to which the company belongs to, the name of the company, the number of records, number of files, okay, and the types of analysis that we can do with this data. So we'll prepare a particular list of various variables. That is the second step, description of the data available. Third step is exploring the data. To explore the data, we can simply draw graphs in MS Excel or in R to understand the range of funding received by the companies. And then finally, we have quality of data. Once we have understood the data structure, we can examine the quality of the data and address factors such as, is the data that I've collected complete enough? Is the data that I've collected correct, or does it have any errors? And if there are errors, how common are the errors? Are there any missing values in the data? And if there are any missing values, then how are they represented? Is the cell blank? Is the cell having a dash over there? Is the cell having a question mark over there? Where do missing values occur? How common are they? This is what we do in data understanding. Understanding the raw data. That is stage number 2. Stage number 3 is data preparation. Across the projects, data analysts spend about 50 to 80% of the time on data cleaning and preparation. And therefore, data preparation becomes one of the most crucial steps in CRISP-DM framework. If the data is containing errors, the solution or the output to the problem that we get after building a model, that would also be erroneous in nature, irrespective of how superb your model is. Okay, because we always believe in that policy, GIGO. Garbage in, garbage out. If your data quality, input quality is defective, your output quality will also be defective. Right? So if you are putting in wrong data, feeding the wrong data, then your output also is going to be wrong. Data is usually spread in different files. And collating those files, relating those files together, getting them together, and selecting the required rows and columns based on the business undertaking is a major step in data preparation. After collating the entire data, that is the data set, we address the missing values and the outliers. This is considered as the most crucial step because the model that we are going to select will be built on the data sets which are created over here in this particular step. Right? So, to do this, we can divide it into about 4 to 5 steps. First, integrate data. If we require only funding distribution across different sectors, only the funding and the sector by the company name is relevant for us. So what is the date of the investment is irrelevant. Who is the CEO of the company is irrelevant. Who is the CFO of the company is irrelevant. So we will collect only those particular rows and columns which are required for data analytics. That is integrating the data. Okay. Second step, that is the collection of data. Second step is integrating the data. Integrating the data, for example, sector data is in one particular file. The name of the company is in another file. Spread of funding across the various sectors can only be analyzed when you merge the company data with the investment data sheet. And this merged file, we will call it as a master file. with all the data sets that can be used for further analysis. The third step that is involved is to clean all the discrepancies, all the errors, remove the errors. And the fourth step is constructing the data, that is constructing derivative variables which are not originally present. For example, date is there. How the date is given? Date, month, that is a day, month and year. I want to extract only the year from the date. So that is this step, constructing data. Or finding out the location, the longitude and the latitudes to find out the geographical location of the company, the zip code, etc. And finally, arrangement of data or formatting the data in such a way that we can use it for building our models. So this is the most important stage of data analytics. Okay, that is data preparation. Stage 3. Stage 4 is data modeling. If you torture the data long enough, it will confess. Modeling is the heart of data analytics. It is like the black box of a aircraft which takes relevant data as input and gives an output in which you are interested. Once we have cleaned all the discrepancies in the data in the earlier step, we arrive at the most interesting stage of the framework, that is data modeling. And that is why we say that it is the heart of data analytics. Modeling is the heart of data analytics. Right? Let us take an example. Suppose I have numbers like 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, and so on. What would be the model of this data set? These are squares of numbers. 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49. These are the squares of the numbers. So I can say it is x into x or x square, the square of the number. The models which I'm going to select should be mathematically sound and generally efficient and easy to use and understand. In our example, in the investment example, suppose the one problem that we wanted to solve was which cluster of sectors, which group of industries is considered most attractive by the investors. For this purpose, we have to group the sectors into various clusters and in which customers commonly invest. That you have to find out. By examining this model, we can say that this model belongs to the family of clustering models. So there are various models. We have different problems of, we have different algorithms which are there. Like the k-means clustering algorithm, the partitioning clustering algorithm, the hierarchical clustering algorithm. And for the rules, we have the association rule mining algorithm. In our AMC का जो case है, our business goal is to shortlist the most commonly occurring investment sectoral clusters and not to account for every individual type of cluster. Therefore, we need to select the clustering algorithm that best meets this business goal. So, we have divided this into two major tasks. The first task is to understand the problem domain and select the appropriate family of models that is suitable for solving the problem on hand. And the second task is to select the appropriate algorithm for creating the model from the chosen family of models. Right? So that is your stage 4, data modeling, selection of models. Stage number 5 and 6 have taken it together, that is model evaluation and model deployment. And let me reiterate the principle once again here, that the CRISP DM framework is an iterative process. Okay, so once we have generated the models, once we have selected the models, we have to test the models and check whether they are effective enough to solve our current problem. And testing the models is called as model evaluation. Okay, The CRISP DM framework does not end at this particular stage or at the stage of model deployment. The important thing to remember is that the CRISP DM is an iterative process. And that means that your data understanding can enhance your business understanding. Similarly, after model evaluation, if you find that the model is not performing up to your expectations, you will have to go back to the data preparation stage and develop the model once again. Modeling and evaluation together is an iterative process, continuous process, in which the models are tweaked until you get the satisfactory results. Only then we can consider the models are ready for deployment and use. So, what is model deployment? When business data is fed into the model and the model results are used to inform business decisions on an ongoing basis, helping the business to take important decisions. So we have a model, we just have to feed the data and it gives us the necessary output on the basis of which we can take important decisions. That is model deployment stage, right? So what is the framework of all those things that we have discussed today? The summary of that is business understanding and data understanding. Insights from data often reveal new business questions which can arise in your process of evaluation. Data preparation, which is the major part or the time consuming part of your data analytics, right? Modeling, evaluation loop, iterative loop, deployment feeds back into the cycle. What are the key takeaways that we have got? What we can understand from this? What is the summary for this? The summary is that business understanding is non-negotiable. It is a starting point. Defining the right problem is more important than choosing the right algorithm. Because if you don't understand the business, if you don't identify what is the problem, the algorithms that you select will be wrong. The output that you get will be wrong. Right? Data preparation dominates because a majority of your time is spent in data preparation. Third, CRISP DM is iterative in nature. It is not linear. And last one, modeling is the heart of data analytics, but only meaningful when the preceding three stages are done correctly. So guys, it is here that we have to understand that what is the importance of data analytics for us as students. Okay, so I suppose that this particular session was very useful to all of you and you have gained a lot of information, a lot of new points you have understood. So see you for module 2 in the next session. Have a good day. Bye.